your turn. Ready? Here we come. Oh! 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 Oh, the boy! It's right here! Okay!
320 million people, you'd think that it wouldn't be that hard to find at least one person to fall in love with, right? Well, not really. There may be lots of people in the US, but many of them don't fit the personal criteria that we look for in a mate. For example, let's say that you're only interested in women. That immediately cuts the number of potential mates in the US in half, from 320 million down to 160 million. Now let's also assume that you're only interested in women that have a sense of humor. The number then drops from 160 million all the way down to 0.
Scaring my little brother with this confetti cannon. Let's go. Scaring my little brother with this confetti cannon. Let's go.
Why are you hanging out with him? He can't even walk.
Yeah? Well, I can. And I'm walking away from you.
Actually, let's roll.
Making fun of someone with a disability is retarded.
I'm headed straight for the floor.
Hey, ladies!
You gotta say.
I want to tell a joke. It's about all this stuff. So Obama, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Nancy Pelosi are all in an airplane together with the pilot. So Obama says, "I'm gonna throw this $100 bill out the window and make one American happy," and Hillary says, "I'm gonna throw $200 out the window and make 2 Americans happy," and Nancy Pelosi says, "I'm gonna throw 100 $100 bills out the window and make 100 Americans happy," and the pilot says, "I can throw all 3 of you out the window and make all of America happy." I speak facts.
You gotta say.
So look at this. You're in London, you're on a business trip, you're staying in Greenwich, and you want to buy some food. So you go into the local Aldi's, like this one, and you think, I'm going to go in here and buy some food so that I can feed myself. And then you approach the barrier, and look, you can't even get in the shop without having a QR code to scan here, or to scan here, and then you can go and buy things. Now this looks to me like the beginning stages of the digital prison.
Let's go!
think Western civilization is just about finished?
I hope so.
Really?
Yeah. I'm waiting for the next thing.
There's no solution.
No solution?
Oh, it's inevitable.
You mean that things are going to get worse? It's
Sure
inevitable?
it is. Just like the fall of Rome.
It may never have begun. Do you think Western civilization is just about finished?
I think so.
No, what you do? It feels okay.
You never liked it very much.
No, I never liked it that much, and it feels good to see it crumble.
Well, I mean, I think we're coming to the end of the age, is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
You know, the end of the age. I think that everything what everybody says about the Bible, you know, and the end times, I think we're at the end, coming close to the end.
Do you think Western civilization's just about finished?
I don't think it's started yet.
You mean...
I'm still looking for civilization in the West.
Tower of Babel, it's a lot of arrogance that people have been, showing toward Mother Nature, and I think Mother Nature is going to strike back, but real good this time.
And Jesus is going to come back?
I believe so.
I believe so.
And save us?
Well,
He already saved us.
Do you think...
The reason why there are no bands now is because in the 90s, Oasis and Primal Scream and Blur and Pulp and all those, we were the mainstream. And what the music industry doesn't like the mainstream being a load of fellas on drugs, drunk half the time on a Tuesday. Like, they don't like that. They like people like Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Who they say, wear this dress and shut it. Wear this, sing that, and go home. The reason why...
Can you describe how John Lennon came to perform with you at the Fillmore?
No problem. A journalist knocked on my door, and he says, "Hi, Frank, I'd like to introduce you to John Lennon." And he was, sticking the mic at me like, "Oh, I'm going to go eek," or something like that. So I said, "Okay, come in." And the first thing he said to me is, "You're not as ugly as I thought you'd be," which leads me to wonder about the strength of his glasses, because I'm as ugly as I ever was. We talked for a few minutes, and I asked him whether he wanted to play with us at the Fillmore East that night, and he did. And we just happened to have a recording truck there because we were recording the shows for another purpose. Now, here's the bad part. During the performance, when Lennon was on stage with Yoko, we played one of my songs called King Kong. He released part of that performance on an album called Sometime in New York and changed the name of the song King Kong to Jam Rag and gave himself and Yoko writing and publishing credit on the song. Now, obviously, this song has a melody and chord changes. Somebody did write it, and it was not them. So, whoops.
I don't really care if a guy wants to be a girl or a girl wants to be a guy. It's your own choice. I don't care. What I'm not a big fan of, though, everything good? This motherfucker wants his drink now. Hey! Yeah, I just want a little bit of Hennessy, one ice. Yeah. One straw, no lemon, no lime. Nah, just bring it here, bro. Bro, you're doing too much right now. Plastic cup. Plastic cup. Hey, this motherfucker want a plastic cup? Come here, plastic cup. Plastic cup, please. Yes. Security, please. This motherfucker was not planning on working tonight. Look how slow he walked in. He got up, put his glasses on. This bullshit. Listen, he wants a plastic cup, one straw, one lemon, and the Hennessy. That one right there? No, we ain't got lemons, bro. We out of lemons. How you doing, sir? You want a plastic cup? Listen. We only got paper straws. We ain't got plastic straws. We got paper straws. I'm not a paper straw, motherfucker.
Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome to Creative Chaos, the show that's dedicated to shining a spotlight on fascinating people creating fantastic things outside the mainstream. So tonight we did not have our regular house bands. We've been getting struck by YouTube too often that I've decided to experiment with doom scrolling because I feel so guilty when I get into that trap of doom scrolling, but I enjoy it and I find fun things. So I'm like, you know what? Let's make it part of my show prep. And then I don't feel as guilty because I'm getting stuff together for Creative Chaos. So that's me exposing myself for doom scrolling way too often. And my God, anybody that saw that very last video, if that's not the cutest thing that you see all week, I challenge you to tag me over on X with something that's cuter. Because that little baby is just so precious. So, hello, welcome in. And it's time for me to bring in my wonderful co-host, the Batman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Bruce, I loved hearing you giggle backstage with that cute baby.
Yeah, it was cute. I've got grandkids, and that little kid was adorable.
Yeah, she certainly was. Well, it kind of, so I've seen something similar where you do like a cat collar camera to see what your cat gets up to outside.
Okay.
And those are funny. And that reminded me of that. But I'm like, as soon as I have a grandkid, I am doing that. A toddling grandkid, I'm totally doing that.
It was a little camera on the hat of the child?
Yes, on the brim of the hat, they attached the camera facing her. And it was just so, and the outfit they picked too, was so cute.
It's adorable.
How's it going? I heard you finished your dinner tonight.
Well, I'm still eating my dinner. I made myself some orange beef stew, and unfortunately, the quinoa took too long to cook, so I'm just finishing it. But I'm here for the show, so let's get into it, shall we?
Fantastic. Well, why don't we say what's up to the chat?
Hi, chat. Hi, everybody.
Hi, chat. Vulcan
Let's go.
Lives.
It's happy Thursday, everyone. What's up, Vulcan Lives? How you doing, brother?
Hello. And then I had Headless. He's loving Zappa because we had a little Zappa reel in there at the beginning.
I saw that. I missed the
rad.
beginning of it. I got to go back and watch that because I'm a huge Zappa. Like, I grew up on Zappa. I saw his last concert here on Long Island at Nassau Coliseum 2 years before he died.
Oh, really? Well, I
Yeah.
never got to see Zappa live. However, on the West Coast, we have Stinkfoot Orchestra that will tour, and we've seen them multiple times, and they're very, very good. They're a Zappa cover band. However, they will also tour with old members of Zappa's band. So I've seen them with the Napoleon Dynamite 3 times, and it was rad. Oh, also, here's a funny story. Because Scott was mind blown. So they have these little rubber chickens that you can fling like rubber bands, right? And they fling them at the audience, so the audience can fling them back. And one came at me, and I'm like, "Ooh, I got one!" And so I fling it back, and it hit Napoleon right in the crotch. And Scott was like, "Oh my God!" So they don't have enough force to actually hurt anybody, but it made us laugh. Anyway, back to the chat. Eccentric's checking in. He said over on my Twitter post that because our guest does a gothic horror, he's like, that sounds right up my alley. So I'm coming tonight. So hi, Eccentric. And then Headless Bourgeoisie again. LOL. All right. That's who's checking in.
We got Madness Comic Networks out there throwing us cookies. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a cookie. Thank you for the cookie.
We have to tell everybody, Cosmac, would you roll that bottom stinger for me so our fans and friends know how to like, subscribe, share this video, and ring that bell so you guys know when we're all going live again. And if you're unpilled, foxhole.app, hit that red pill and show us some love and throw us some gold if you'd like. We appreciate it.
And I've been remiss a couple of times in recent history of making sure I have pilled up so I can look at the chat. I have remedied that problem. So
go.
I've got Pilled Up. You guys check in over there. Say hello if you're hanging out watching us over on Pilled Up.
So I just
Because
want
we
to
love Pilled.
wave. I want to wave and say hello to somebody who's hopefully watching out there right now. PJ, if you're out there listening, hi PJ.
Hi, PJ, if you're listening. All right. Well, that does it for that. It is time for us to just do a very quick Flip City promo. Creative Chaos would not happen without Flip City Magazine. That is the magazine that I publish along with Scott McKenzie, my wonderful, most hilarious husband. It is a comic satire magazine. You can check us out at flipcitymag.com. And it's a quick one tonight. And if you like my hat, you can get those there too. flipcitymag.com. Go check it out. All right. I dropped my
Waiting for
books.
my hat to come in.
Did you order a hat?
Not yet, but I will.
Oh, sweet. Do it.
I like hats. I love hats.
Yes, and this is a nice, comfy hat, and it's embroidery on the front, so it looks nice too. And
I
there's
like the
a
embroidery.
multitude of choices and colors as well. So you don't. I like the red one because I want people to to do a double take.
Right.
The kind of people that would judge you for wearing a red hat. Those types.
Yeah. I've got a
that's
new one
right.
now. I've got a
If
new
you
one
get
now.
if you get a red one, you'll have a red one like me and Headless Bourgeoisie, who recently
There you
ordered
go.
one. All right. Well, let's get into the show tonight.
Please, let's go for it.
Because we've got an awesome guest that I've never met before. So those are sometimes some of my favorite people because I get to know them on stream. I'm not like, I've already heard that story 10 times. And so our guest tonight, his name's Les Garner. He is an artist and owner of Sixus1 Publishing with his current title, Brides, a reimagined classic gothic horror successfully funding on Kickstarter. It's not live anymore, but if there's a way that you can still get it, we'll talk about that tonight. The Kickstarter's closed, but he's got a website that I'm going to drop in chat. It's also in the description of the video. But why don't we watch the trailer for Brides, and then we'll meet Les on the other side.
Brides is a gothic horror graphic novella, a story of bloody ambitions, broken bodies, and a woman who dares to remake herself. Variant covers, sculpted collectibles, and one beautiful, tragic monster you'll never forget. Won't you join me in reimagining classic gothic horror by backing the relaunch of Brides here on Kickstarter?
Here I am.
Howdy.
Hi, Les.
Hey.
I also enjoyed hearing you giggle backstage.
Yeah. Oh my God. That little. Okay, my wife is Asian, and I love Asian babies. I love babies, but Asian babies, the little round heads on them. I mean, it's just too cute. They're the cutest little things ever.
Yes,
little round head on a little Asian baby. There's nothing cuter.
Indeed. In fact, my brother married a Filipino woman who, like, I've known since childhood.
That's my wife's Filipino.
Oh, really? They make they're very empathetic, wonderful.
I love Filipino people. Just love Filipino people.
Yeah. What's great though?
Yeah,
so my niece. I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk over you.
Oh, you're good. You're good. It's probably laggy.
I think that is the case. But all I was gonna say is, I have three, two nieces and a nephew from my brother and his wife, and it's so cool because they look like Asian versions of our side of the family. Because they look like my brother a lot, but just Asian. And I'm like, this is so cool. Anyway.
So I have to ask.
Yeah,
Les, you're lagging tonight because you look like you're in a Chinese kung fu movie.
Well, on my end, Kitty's looking that way.
Yeah, you're behind by about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
We're gonna handle it.
That's
We're
the
gonna handle
fun
it
of the
like
internet.
champs tonight.
We'll be fine. We will be fine. It'll be all right.
Yeah, and hey, Les, we're actually gonna hop
That's
right.
the fun of the internet.
We're gonna hop right into the show. We are going to get to know you as quickly as possible with our very first segment. It is called Fanboy for Us. It's actually Bruce's segment. So you guys are gonna handle that. And then we're gonna talk more about your projects and your art and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into that segment.
Okay. Nice.
All right. So, Les, I'm going to throw a couple of quick questions at you, asking you what your favorite kind is. Try not to think about it.
Oh, Lord.
We want you just to let it flow, and we want you to just give us your immediate answer. So we're going to get into this.
I'm sensing terrible things coming.
Boy.
It's not that bad.
I want to know where Les's mind is already.
No, I'm that bad.
No, it's really not bad at all. So the first question we have is, what's your favorite food?
Oh, crap. Favorite food. Old-fashioned Southern biscuits and gravy. That's my favorite food. I don't eat it hardly ever, but I love biscuits and gravy.
Okay.
Look at me. I'm a farm boy. Biscuits and gravy.
Where are you originally from?
Southeast Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky boy.
In the deepest, darkest bowels of Appalachia.
Ooh.
And it's Appalachia, not Appalachia.
All right.
So I come from where they have caves where people hide the bodies.
Oh, shit.
No wonder you have a morbid sense of reality with your comic books.
Well, see, I was gonna say no wonder the internet connection's terrible.
Oh, see, I've moved up to civilization these days. I live in Western Kentucky now. I'm literally on the very tip of the state at the other end. Like, I'm less than an hour away from Missouri now. Right across the Mississippi River from Missouri.
Gotcha.
So, it's weird. The way Kentucky's shaped, it's got this the westernmost part of the state is this little tip that was picked up out of the Jackson Purchase. So, like, right above us is Illinois. Right above and to one side is Indiana. Right above and to the other side is Missouri. Down and over is Mississippi, and straight down is Tennessee.
Okay.
It's
so
like
you're
from
right
where I
there in
live,
that-
I can go an hour.
You're in that triangular section of all three states.
Yeah. It's they call it the Four Rivers Delta.
That's
There's
it. That's the word I was
Ohio,
like. The Four Rivers
Kentucky.
Delta.
Yeah, Tennessee, Ohio, Kentucky, and Mississippi rivers, or Tennessee, Ohio, and Kentucky all dump into the Mississippi River right where I live.
Oh, wow.
So flooding, lots of damn flooding.
That's cool.
But it's beautiful here. I love it. Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm like 30 minutes from Metropolis, Illinois. So
Providence, Illinois. Okay.
which is a suit. Yeah, Metropolis, Illinois is cool. I mean, it's the town with like the largest Superman statue in the world.
I was
And
just
the
going to
folks
say, you
who
beat me to it.
engineered all of that.
Yep.
Yeah, the folks who engineered all of that, the family, of course, Jim just passed away. The guy who founded the Superman Museum, he just passed away. He died on the same day as the anniversary of my father's death.
Oh, wow.
And his daughter runs all of it, owns it, and runs all of it now. And I'm real good friends with that family, and it's just I've become friends with them since I moved out here, and it's great. It's a great town, great people, and they're right across from Paducah, Kentucky, which is kind of where I live. And somebody said too close to Illinois for me. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Illinois except for Metropolis. I call it Illinoising. Because
love it.
Yeah, it's Illinoising. I mean, that Illinois is jacked as a state. That place is just. I'm like y'all are screwed. Actually, 2/3 of the state are awesome, but unfortunately, the largest single county in the United States is Cook County, Illinois. That county runs from one side of the state all the way to the other. It splits the state at the top and contains Chicago. And it is terrible. And everybody who lives... There's actually a big referendum going on in Illinois right now of people wanting to split the bottom third of the state into a different state. Because they're like, yeah, we're not represented. We never will be. You know, we have no representation at all. So,
wow.
And then it's funny. I follow this stuff because there's people in Indiana trying to.
Oh no,
we lost you.
We lost Les. That is a bummer. Hopefully he can get back in.
Come back, Les.
Because I actually was going to correct him because that county is not the largest in the United States, and I only know that because I live in the county that is the largest in the United States, and that is San Bernardino County. Oh, just calling in?
No, that's actually somebody else, and I got to grab this real quick, so give me 1 second.
Oh, my goodness, you guys. It's me, Christy.
Les is back. Give me 1 second.
Thank God Les is back. Because I don't do good on camera by myself.
All right, I missed your call.
I have returned.
You there, Les? Can you hear me, Les? Les, are you there? Les, you're frozen. Can you hear me, Les? Nope. He went offline. Oh,
boy.
There you
are.
We
go.
Again.
There we go. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I use a VPN, and sometimes some cities that it runs through will get jacked up, and I have to switch it around. So, yeah, it's just a thing.
So,
also, Eccentric welcomed you back.
Yes, and Pops knows absolutely you cannot leave me alone. You do not know what shenanigans I'll get up to by myself.
All right.
Fun.
So you kind of touched on you touched on your food, that you love your biscuits and gravy, and I can concur. I love a
biscuits and gravy and pretty much anything Cajun.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're a Cajun guy.
Oh yeah. Southwest Kentucky is where like the Cajuns and Creole folks managed to come up from Louisiana and Mississippi, and their territory runs all the way up into Southwest Kentucky. So there's like a whole classification of Kentucky food that is actually Cajun.
I was unaware of that.
It's not like a widely... Yeah, it's not a widely known thing. Like, there's a dish that is specific to Kentucky called burgoo that, we jokingly call it Kentucky gumbo because it's basically what they did when they got here, and they didn't have the stuff they had down there, so they used the stuff they had here and made something similar, and got called burgoo.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm full of goofy Kentucky stuff, man.
No, that's great because I got family that all went to school down there. A grouping of my cousins from my father's side of the family, their kids wound up going to University of Kentucky.
Yeah, there's University of Kentucky, Murray State University, and Morehead State University, and Eastern Kentucky University. Like, we've actually got a bunch of them, and I don't really like any of them. I used to live before my wife and I moved here. We lived in Morehead, which is where Morehead State University's at, and it's just like we jokingly call it the gayest little town in Kentucky because it is. And I'm like, with a name like Morehead, what do you expect?
Morehead, yes, yes, indeed.
A long time ago, I worked in radio there, and whenever I had to do the weather. I mean, I come so close to getting fired so many times because I would just change whatever the temperature was, and I'd be like, I'd get on the mic and be like, "You're listening to WMKY Public Radio in Moorhead, Kentucky, and it is 69 degrees for 2 of our lucky listeners today."
That's great.
Oh my God, the general manager. I as soon as I'd do it, I'd already be laughing, and I'd see the phone light up, and I'd be like, like, "Hey, Chuck," and he'd be like, "God damn it, Les, you gotta stop doing that." I'm like, "But it's funny."
That's funny. All right, so we continue with
the power
fanboying
of comedy.
That's great. I love that. I love the fact that you were a radio DJ announcer. That's cool. My uncle was the newscaster.
I was producing, hosting, and engineering jazz and classical programming for an NPR affiliate.
Nice.
So I was actually doing that when I was 19.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, it was goofy. Yeah, it was. There's so many stories with that. I mean, I've seen so many pressed fruit bowls against the glass and looking at me as I'm engineering a show. All the other DJs, we all had this thing where we would slip into the booth, like you got your board and there's the glass, and on the other side is where the news people would sit. It was a soundproof booth. And normally the lights and stuff would be off, and there was a way that you could just turn on a single spotlight in there. And so you'd be sitting there doing your thing, at the board, and I'd be talking or back announcing something or talking about the music or something like that. I'm just minding my business, chilling out, doing my thing, blah, 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 blah. What? I look up, and I'd see the single light go on. And my friend Charlie, this single light would go on, and then out of nowhere would just come up. He'd be bent over, and just his ass would come up and slap. There'd be like acid balls against the glass. It was terrible. I think I've seen more children made while I was hosting public radio programming.
Wow.
I'm like, oh wow, you guys in there, that's you're gonna get a tax deduction for that.
All right. Well, I'm very familiar with radio announcing and radio DJing. My uncle was Don Imus's newscaster for 25 years on NBC Radio.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Don Imus is a freaking legend.
Yes, he is. Was. He's no longer with us. But yeah.
Yeah.
But let's carry on with fanboying for us. So we know your favorite food. What's your favorite drink? Alcoholic and or non-alcoholic? It doesn't matter. Or both.
Oh. 12-year single barrel aged Woodford Select bourbon.
That's very specific.
Man after my own heart. Woodford Select. Absolutely.
I mean, it's WOFO. It's Woodford. It's like right there as you're getting into Eastern Kentucky. And it is, a lot of folks don't know this. If you see something called bourbon, and it is not made in Bourbon County, Kentucky, or off of the Bourbon Creek, Kentucky, it's not bourbon.
Yep.
It can be made the same way, but very specifically, and you can tell the difference in the taste because it has to be made with water from Bourbon Creek, Kentucky, because there's lime deposits all over Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky specifically, and all over Bourbon Creek, and it has an effect on the way liquor comes out flavored.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting fact I was not aware of.
It is to whiskeys what champagne is to whatever that frou-frou junk is. You know how like it's technically not really champagne unless it comes from the Champagne region of France.
Right.
Same thing. Bourbon ain't bourbon unless it comes from Kentucky. specifically off the Bourbon Creek.
There's actually, because the process in making bourbon, there's a process or part of the process in there that in the fermentation of it, it's not considered kosher, but we actually have a rabbi in Kentucky called the Kentucky Bourbon Rabbi who makes kosher bourbon.
Oh, nice.
And so I've ordered
interesting.
cases from him over the last several years. I'm due to order another one soon.
There is a wild Jewish history in northern Kentucky, back and forth between northern Kentucky and Cincinnati across the river. During the Civil War at one point, Ulysses S. Grant got it in his head that there was a Jewish banking conspiracy fueling both sides of the war, and he took it upon himself to round up all the Jewish people in Kentucky and start marching them west. And it was about, I don't know, some many days on this march. Like, it's terrible. There's a bakery here near me that was founded back then, and the family, it was founded after that, but the family who founded it were one of the families that got shoved out by Grant.
Oh, wow.
And Grant's like marching. He's like, I'm just gonna march these Jews on out to Oklahoma. And then he gets a letter from Lincoln that's like, bro, we're supposed to be fighting this kind of crap. The hell are you doing? Bring them people back. He had to turn around and bring them all back, because Lincoln was like, I can't keep moral high ground if you're doing this crap, son.
I love that history stuff that you don't hear in a book. You're not going to get that in a book.
That stuff kills me. I mean, where we live here in southwest Kentucky, like, Kentucky during that war was divided.
Yeah.
And, it was divided north and south, and we are in the south of Kentucky, and I'll tell you, it is the South here. And in all the best possible ways, in all the best possible ways, I mean, I love it here, but there's just little things that's like, when we first were moving here, we're driving, following the directions, taking a turn, and we see flying, like, over the interstate at this one spot, a massive Confederate flag. And it's a public spot. And we come around, and it's a Confederate soldiers monument. Like, this whole thing, it like, underneath it has flags of all states of the Confederacy.
Yep.
And they've got a cannon sitting there and all this other stuff. And it's just,
that's cool.
It's in a little town. It's a town next to us called Benton. But now, and what's wild is right next to it is this flea market. It's a super cool little flea market, kind of peddler's mall thing. And, people who don't understand would just, they would assume what kind of folks they would see there. But, it's like you go there, you see people of all walks of life, and nobody, it's cool. I mean, it's really cool. It's like the folks here are cool with letting, families of the people who fought in that still have their history and have their, their story and all that without it being, it's really wild. I mean, like, there's a place in Paducah that is what is that called? It's a chapter of a thing called the Sons of the South, which Sons of the South typically have a really bad name. And the first time I went by that place, there was a guy wearing membership clothing sitting out front who was a black guy. And I'm like, okay. All right.
That's funny.
Like, all right. Well,
it's like
we have mixed it up thoroughly here.
That's like the Dave Chappelle segment he does when he joins the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I love that. So yeah,
That's
all that
fun.
shit's funny because I'm a quarter black, and all that stuff's hilarious to me. So I didn't know I was a quarter black until I was in my 40s, and I was adopted, and so there's all kinds of stuff I didn't find out about myself until really late, in life, and I was like, huh, wow. Well, I told I used to train in Cincinnati martial arts in a dojo that was had a lot of it was my sensei was a little black guy who was like a father to me. I loved the man to death, and there was a lot of black friends of mine there. And when I found this out, I told them one day, and one of them looks at me and goes, "I knew you got them lips and that ass from somewhere."
That's great. All right. Very good. Very good.
We
All
had
right.
fun with this junk.
Favorite
bourbon, specifically
I'm
Woodford
sorry.
Select. Yeah.
We're always Woodford
Oh,
Select.
I was just circling back around. Yeah,
Thank
Woodford
you,
Select
sir.
is my jam.
And your favorite
Yep.
artist, any genre, any kind, anywhere. Favorite artist, any medium.
Ooh, favorite artist. That's a hard toss up between Neil Adams and Alphonse Mucha.
Very cool. Okay,
well,
I know
shit.
Neil Adams. Alphonse Mucha. Alphonse Mucha's from where? I'm trying to place Alphonse Mucha.
Alphonse Mucha, in his lifetime, he was active during the era that art historians call Art Nouveau. But while he was alive, the entire style was referred to as Le Style Mucha because he practically invented it. Like you see Toulouse-Lautrec, Gauguin, you see all the ornate designs that came about and led to the Deco movement.
Right, the Art Deco movement.
All
right.
of that. The Art Deco movement was people applying Cubism to the principles of Mucha's Art Nouveau and making it angular. That's all it was. And
Very
like when
cool.
you see,
I love it.
Most notable guy in comics to really bring Mucha out, and he's the guy who introduced me to Mucha. Like personally, said like when I was 19, he saw some of my work and was like, "Where'd you learn to do Mucha?" And I was like, "Who?" And then conversation happened, and I started studying. But it was Joe Quesada. Like when you see Joe Quesada do those covers that he's known for, they have all that ornate scroll work and the symmetrical stuff everywhere. When he's doing that, he is literally cribbing from Alphonse Mucha. Sometimes actually doing pieces that are homages to Alphonse Mucha. A lot of times you'll see him sign it. It'll say Quesada and it'll say after Mucha. So yeah, that's a big one. So and my two big guys in comics are Neil Adams and Bernie Wrightson. So, you don't get any better than them. I mean, where'd your audio go?
That's actually the first time any of our artists or creators that we've had on have actually referenced an artistic style other than comic art. So I appreciate that. And I believe
I'll toss you another one to
know
look
the
up.
Mucha style.
Yep.
It's so hard to see.
It was the Mucha style was actually picked up and used a lot through the 1960s, as a part of the New Bohemian movement. Because Art Nouveau was the old Bohemian movement. The New Bohemians in the 60s, like the Grateful Dead, literally lifted his art and used it for posters and just changed little things in it. So, and then that stuff was cribbed by Esteban Maroto back in the old days of Vampirella, an Italian artist who I adore. Esteban Maroto. Like, young folks don't know who it is. I'm like, go look him up. And when they do, they're like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because Marotta, Frazetta, and I'm trying to remember the other artist that did the Beowulf painting. they all have that very similar Muka reference to them. They unfortunately Muka got lumped in with Art Nouveau back in the 60s. It was still considered Art Nouveau, but it was definitely, you could definitely see the differential between the Art Nouveau style and the Muka style. But you have to know your art.
Yep. Yep.
I appreciate you for that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
that.
cool.
I mean, this stuff is. This is all I've done for a living basically since I was 19. So I had like 2 years there where at the same time I was in radio, and then migrated out of that, and it's been nothing but art full time ever since.
Very cool.
So
very
I'm
cool.
32 years deep in this career.
That's wild.
They gotta have more to show for it.
It sounds to me like you should be teaching an art history class. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm gonna
Actually, the way I ended up in Western Kentucky was a school in Paducah offered for me to come teach, which I don't have any degrees in anything. I'm totally self-taught. But there was a program in Kentucky at the time that was going to graft me in and sidestep all kinds of stuff based on my professional background. So I picked up and moved 5 hours across the state, because I mean, Kentucky to go from tip to tip takes 6 hours. And I moved all the way across the state, got here, and about 6 months into living here, all this was supposed to kick up. And I'm like, hey guys, cool, what are we doing? What's going on with this? Oh, they cut your funding. Oh, look at that. Something else with the government involved in it that went completely tits up. So, fortunately, we did it. We came here not just for that. There were other things here that I wanted to be a part of, like being friends and the friendship that was growing with the folks in Metropolis. And then there's a charity here called Dice Alliance that is a charity where we use tabletop games, role-playing games, like anything non-digital and gaming. We'll use it to help. I hate the word underprivileged, but we help kids learn life skills and socialization skills.
It's an educational tool,
but we do it. We do it through Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and I run a D&D game for the kids every month that they love. We recently we were invited to come do a big presentation for the Kentucky. This is ironic. It's like I can't get away from education even though I'm not a damn teacher. We were invited to come do. And I expressly did not go on this. Other folks from the organization did. But as an organization, we were brought in to do a presentation to the Kentucky Board of Education about the benefits of specifically Dungeons and Dragons for kids. So,
very cool.
It was really wild. The really kind of poetic part of it for me is that there was at Morehead State University when I went there when I was 18. I was one of the founders of a thing called the MSU Gaming Guild. And it was just, a club for networking gamers back then, right? And it's still going today.
That's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's like 32 years later, it's still going. It's really weird. So the gaming stuff has always been kind of right there with me with comics. So...
Yeah, and Pops from Madness Comic Network says that you've been doing this forever and that you're one of the very best indie gaming, in the indie games. So
no, in the indie game.
In the indie game. I'm sorry, in the indie game.
Yeah. Well, speaking of games, I actually just finished the first draft of a new game system that I wrote. I'm gonna be looking around for people to play test it and help me, kind of put it through its paces a little bit before long. But I have my favorite game outside of Dungeons and Dragons has always been I was one of the day one adopters of Vampire the Masquerade. I love World of Darkness. Like, that game, a lot of what I do professionally is influenced by the World of Darkness, like, deeply. And, you know, it's just, it's been heartbreaking for me through the last couple decades to see what's happened to the World of Darkness as a property, White Wolf as a company. Of course, apparently they're coming back, but there are a lot of concepts, game mechanics wise, in that I really liked. And I finally was just like, you know what? Like, I had been planning to put together a once a month game for some friends that would be a vampire game. And I was like, you know, I could go back and run this in that system, which is old and nothing new's coming from it, which actually has some pluses with that. Or I could take some ideas that I have and just start playing with them. And I mean, it just is one of those things that, like, it came together really quick. And so, like, right now there's a document I'm sitting on. It's not a book yet, but it's a document. It's about a 30,000 word document that is this new game, in which it don't, like, the only dice that it uses is you use a D10. It's all you use is a D10.
Okay.
And the working name of the system is Roll 10. It's just Roll 10. So,
all right,
but
cool.
it's a.
I gotta tell you.
Yeah, the way it's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I know a guy who has a show on Pill.net, Madness Entertainment Group, a guy by the name of Pops Van Zandt that likes running gaming shows. You never know. You may be able to beta test it right on his stream one day and have a couple of friends jump in, like Chris Brown and Christy Mack right here.
Like, Pops is how me and Les hooked up.
Yep. Yeah, the first with how successful Brides has been, probably the world of Brides is what will be kind of the baseline world that I launched this game out of. You know, it's very. That's funny. I just saw where dude said had to love Ravenloft setting in D&D, right? Dude, once Ravenloft came out, for all of my high school years, that's the only setting of D&D I played. And I just wrapped up recently a year-long campaign for the kids at Dice Alliance that was my version of Ravenloft, which I wrote a source book for, because I blend Ravenloft with Lovecraft, because I have to. I can't not stick Lovecraft in everywhere that I can possibly think of it.
Very cool. It sounds like you've got a really good game on your hands, and now it's just a matter of getting it out to the public, getting it, getting people to play it.
It's got to get some polish and start kind of knocking it around a little bit, but I think it's really solid. And the thing that I always loved about the World of Darkness was the rules were actually dirt simple, and most everything you needed to play it was right there on the character sheet. You really didn't need to look a lot of stuff up, and I wanted that kind of thing again. Something where it's fast to make a character, everything you need is on the character sheet, and you can get as granular with it or as broad with it as you want. And it's to me, it's not that hard to come up with that sort of, to satisfy those things in a system. And a lot of game systems, I think D&D is overly complicated for no good reason. So
yeah,
I mean, I play it, but
I gotta say thank you, Les, because I've only just started to enjoy like RPGs, but so many of them are so complicated. I'm like, this just seems like too much homework to like be able to enjoy a game. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To hear that you're thinking of people like me.
Well, it should be about interactive storytelling. and not so much fixated on numbers and min-maxing and dice rolls and all that. So what I've created with it, I know is a very it's a theatrically based game. So like even the terminologies in the game, like the game master is called the narrator. The game's segments, like time in the game, is divided into scenes, acts, and chapters. So, and because it's like, actual storytelling has, if you study writing at all, actual storytelling can have a structure to it that makes total sense for something like this. So just, I wanted to take like bits of what I had with what I loved from World of Darkness, but then married it off to things that to me just, honestly, it's the things I always thought World of Darkness was driving at, but we're just not there. So anyway, yeah, it's funny. There's a guy that I've gamed with a couple times here who has done some stuff with Dice Alliance, who actually used to work in marketing for White Wolf. So it's very goofy. I guess when you've been around this stuff this long, it's like you just start to filter down to just all the people who have connections with things.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Age is weird like that.
Yes, it is.
It's like, damn it, I'm old. Well, I'm old now.
For sure.
So yeah.
All right. So we're not quite through with.
I'm also bad about derailing conversations.
That's okay. We all digress at some point. But we want to know who your favorite movie is. What your favorite movie is.
Oh, well, I oftentimes won't even include Star Wars of any kind in that list because, for good or ill, Star Wars for me is like next to religion. So that's just.
So you're a purist.
I have wild.
You're a purist.
I'm weird about Star Wars. Like, I dislike a lot of the crap Disney has done with it, but I don't hate them for it, and I don't hate it. I think I actually am a purist in that there's a thing that George Lucas is supposedly told Dave Filoni at one point about differences across Star Wars stories and things that people think of as continuity problems. George is like, they're not continuity problems. He's like, these are all stories told around campfires. And everyone's campfire is a little different. So if the stories come out a little different the way you tell them, well, that's your spin on it. That's your take.
Right.
And like, George is always very cool about it. My attitude is like, it's like, I don't have to like all of it. And if George can have the attitude that he has about it, then so be it. It's like, it's there for everybody to try and play with in some way that works for them.
Right. And as a dungeon master or narrator, as a dungeon master or narrator, you have the opportunity to change and ebb and flow with the story to get a desired effect, which is nice. I like that.
Now, on that note, I am going to say on one very, very specific subject, fuck Disney. Okay? And here's what that is.
Again?
I said one extremely specific topic, fuck Disney. Here's why. Okay. This story starts around 2003 with me at San Diego Comic-Con as a guest of a software company I did 3D engineering for. And I'm also doing comic stuff here and there. And I was meeting lots of cool people at that show in San Diego. And one of which was Jan Duursema. And Jan, at the time, was like the lead big dog artist on the expanded universe stuff at Dark Horse. We hit it off, and and I don't know where this stuff ever made it out, and it's kind of a sidebar, but she and I had this great conversation about martial arts stuff, and then she whips out her camera and asks me if she could take photos of me to use as reference for a Jedi drill sergeant, which I was like, booyah, hit it. Fast forward a couple of years, and we're still in contact, and Jan is dabbling in 3D rendering. Okay, so she's got tasked with coming up with a design for a new Sith character. Okay, bitchin', cool. She's like, yeah, the first appearance of this is going to be this cover, or is going to be in this issue of Star Wars Insider magazine, where it's going to show up first. And we want to do like a photoreal 3D rendering of it for the magazine. And she's like, can I get you to build that model and set it up for me so that I can do that? And I was like, oh, hell yes. So what I received that I then proceeded to build, that she then used and rendered, and it went out in that magazine, I built the model and textures and rigging of the first appearance of Darth Talon.
Whoa.
That's cool.
Now, that was like just like I said, Star Wars is next to religion for me. So that was just like money was irrelevant. I was like, fuck yeah. Fast forward to a year ago. I'm super chill about all the Disney stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I can go for some of it, take some of it, leave some of it. Then I hear about this book that came out with all these notes and things from George. And some of these notes were back and forth between George and Dave Filoni. And in this particular document, it outlined what George's plans were for episodes 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, and 9, if they had done what George wanted, which he had sold them on, and they changed after they bought it, the villain would have been the return of Darth Maul with an apprentice in the form of Darth Talon. My girl was going to be the Sith apprentice in George's new movies. And because of that, and Bob Iger, Bob, if you're listening, this is for you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck Disney. You took my girl away from me. You took away from me my baby. And I will forever be hoping that at some point Dave Filoni comes back and retcons some of it in some way. There are ways he can do it and brings my girl back in. Because that's just, I mean, over the years I watched, I mean, like Jan got all the credit on that piece of artwork, but I knew what I did. That was okay. I didn't mind being behind the scenes. And it was just neat for me to be able to go, you know, as somebody as deep into Star Wars as I am, to look and see a character that I got to put hands on the very first appearance of it become as beloved as that character is. You know, like, I could say Darth Talon to people who aren't really nerds, and they surprisingly, between games and other stuff, they know who it is. And I'm like, I was there. I was on that. So it's one of those things, man. It's like, yeah, it's one of the weirdest things for me. And, you know, I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, but, you know, Jan and I are still friends. And I'm like, man, yeah.
I think it's time for you to write a letter to Filoni and tell him about that.
If I thought he'd get it, I would. I kind of move. You know, it's kind of like pining away for a girl. You know, there comes a point where you're just like, yeah, I'm never gonna tap that. So, yeah, it's like I could watch that from afar, but that ass, I'm not tapping that one. No. I actually had there there was a guy who I worked with, who I taught a boatload of 3D stuff to, and I won't say his name because he ended up being a shit. But this guy, he and I were doing concept art for some different shows on Sci-Fi Channel, and he got the call one day, got the opportunity to join the monster creating department at ILM's branch in Eveston when the new Star Wars stuff started up. He got the call. He's like, "Yeah, we'd like for you to come be one of our designers." And this dumbass's wife said, "I don't want to move to England." I'd have been like, "Divorce." Divorce. In fact, we're going to divorce right now so that the half my shit you're going to take is the half from before I got my Star Wars job. You don't get shit from the Star Wars job. You just pissed that away. So thank you for bringing clarity to that particular story. I'm like, yeah. And when I eventually got divorced, I think one of the early questions I had for my now wife was, "Hey, honey, if I ever get the call to work on something Star Wars, but we have to relocate," she's like, "Yeah, we're going." I'm like, "Right answer. You are correct."
Very cool.
Well, you know what's funny though, and I think Les. I'm sorry. You said Star Wars is religion to you. You still haven't told us what your favorite movie is beyond that.
Oh shit! Sorry, you say movies, and my head immediately goes Star Wars. Favorite movie? I would say it's a tie between the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because they're one movie. I'm not going to split them apart. A tie between Lord of the Rings, and I can't watch them and not sit through all of them in the director's cut. I'm there for days. Somebody get me a colostomy bag. I'm not going to move. So it's just like no, I can't walk away. But the Lord of the Rings trilogy and absolute. See, it changes. There's a handful of movies that are always on my mind for favorite. There's so many. I love 300.
Okay.
I adore the movie 300. I like its sequel too. It was good. Wasn't as good as the first one, but I love 300. That, when he turns around and says, "Spartans, what is your profession?" I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
I'm like, damn, I just felt my T levels go up just remembering it. It's like, I'm like, dude, this is baller. It is such a baller movie, and it was a great adaptation of Frank Miller. I love the first Sin. I love both Sin City movies, but again, the first Sin City movie, I love that one.
Yeah.
Again, because it's such a great adaptation of Frank Miller. When we were talking about artists, I won't say Frank Miller is one of my favorite artists, but he's one of my favorite comic book creators ever. Like I will always be very honest about the downfalls of Frank's art. He had a lot of cool stuff. He also has a lot of flaws, but his storytelling is off the hook. So, but yeah, Lord of the Rings, 300. The movie Angel Heart.
Yes. Wow, Mickey
Angel
Rourke.
Heart, man. Yeah, good old Mickey Rourke, man. Just what was her name? Because it was the movie that broke the mold for her from being on Cosby.
Lisa Bonet.
Lisa Bonet. Damn.
I had such a crush on her.
Damn, they don't make them like that.
No. I can't believe she married Lenny Kravitz.
I can believe it. Well, and what's funny is, and I was about to say, Zoe Kravitz is like this generation's Lisa Bonet, but I mean, I guess that's kind of her folks.
Yep. Yeah, no, I had a thing for Lisa Bonet back in the day. She was my wet dream for sure, for a long while.
That's I just them fine ass Creole ladies, man.
Absolutely.
That was the one time I've gotten to go to New Orleans. We got early 2020, right before COVID hit. My book Apocalypse Girl came out, and I was scheduled for 35 shows that year, and I only got to do one. But it was in New Orleans, and my then fiance, now wife, she and I spent a few extra days in New Orleans, and like between movies like Angel Heart and all the Anne Rice stuff that I like to this day, I think I probably have like sections of Anne Rice's work memorized. I actually carried on by phone a friendship with Anne for about 3 years.
Wow.
From the time I was 21 to 24, something like that. It's another weird story, but super cool. Anne Rice was amazing. I will miss her forever. So like the book Brides, inside the front cover, it has a dedication to Anne, because in one of our conversations, I had asked her, "How did you get into horror?" And she's like, "Oh, when I was a little girl, she's like, The Bride of Frankenstein got me." So, and that's a big part of like, whenever you get a chance to read Brides, the way that it's written, and this is why I'm gonna be very careful here, because Brides Brides was with a publisher, and then it was not, and then now it's with a different publisher. The reason for me, that it was no longer with original publisher had to do with a lot with writing and my writing on it, which I really, I couldn't stand to not have my writing, be what's carrying the book. And a lot of the things that I was writing and the way that I wrote them are unabashedly a nod to Anne. I mean, the whole book is dedicated to Anne. So, she was a friend and a mentor at a great time, and it's like, shit, man. Between the World of Darkness stuff and Friendship with Anne Rice and all that stuff, it's like the very first comic book that I ever did professionally when I was 19, and I got hired to do this book. It was a vampire book. So like, vampire stuff has just been, I've been shot through with vampire stuff my entire career.
There you go.
Brides was like, Brides is actually kind of like coming home. So very happy about that.
Very cool.
But
for anybody
yeah,
else who
Angel
know
Heart
who you're
got me
talking
thinking
about,
those.
I just want to refresh the audience's memory. Anne Rice was the author and creator of the story arc that was the original Interview with a Vampire that became movies and plays and all kinds of stuff. But Interview with a Vampire was an incredible book, and my ex-wife was a huge fan of vampires, so she was big into the Anne Rice, books in general.
I absolutely Anne's work was just, you get an Anne Rice maybe once in a generation. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And what she did with all of her vampire books, the world building around all of that.
Yeah.
The game World of Darkness that I love so much, it would not have happened if it weren't for Anne Rice. So there was actually, the way that I met Anne, she was doing a signing at the time. The fourth book in the Vampire Chronicles, called Memnoch the Devil, had come out, and she was doing No, actually, this was after that. She was doing a signing for a book called Lasher that was in the Mayfair Witches series, and this was in Lexington, Kentucky, and I had done a portrait of her. That was a 3 foot wide by 4 foot tall. 3 foot wide by 4 foot tall, black and white airbrush painting in a very early 20th century film noir style. And I mean, like there were things that I knew just from being a fan of hers. I was like, she'll probably dig this. No, I did this painting and took it to the signing, and the management of the place took it and presented it to her before, I'm at the back of this long ass line. They presented it to her, and they brought out an easel and put it next to her. And that was cool. So when I get up to get my stuff signed and say, hey, the manager says, Miss Rice, this is the gentleman who produced this painting for you. And she looks at him and goes, why is he over there? And she looks at me and she goes, come here. And points around the table. She's like, get him a chair. And asked me to sit down with her. And had me sit next to her for the rest of the signing, all the while chatting with me between people about, what I like about in her books. And I remember we hit it off when she said, she's like, so what's your favorite one of my books? And I said, Memnoch the Devil. And she's like, that one is the most hated of all my books. She's like,
really?
Why is that your favorite? Yeah, Memnoch the Devil is the least. That one got panned by so many people, and I understand why. They didn't understand it, and that's what I told her. I was like, people just did not understand that book. I was like, you managed in the context of a vampire book to give a treatise on the entire history of Christianity and Western culture that has insights into it that I don't think the majority of I don't even think a minority hardly of your readers are grasping. I'm like, you've done things with that, and we talked about specifics, and it, she was, it really took her aback that somebody, I guess, understood it. And I ended up hanging out with her there at the table for like the next 3 hours.
Nice.
She as everything's starting to close down, she gives me she has her assistant, her personal assistant, give me her business card, and then Anne takes the card and on the back of it writes a phone number, and she says, now this phone number, she's like, don't give this to anybody or I'll have the number changed. She's like, this is my private number in my studio where I write. She's
wow.
Like, she said, take this, call me anytime. If I don't answer, my assistant will. She's like, call me anytime. She's like, and if you can ever make it down in New Orleans, come to the house and see me.
Wow.
Very cool.
The painting, the wild thing about that painting, Anne asked me, she's like, are you familiar with St. Elizabeth's? And I was like, yeah. I was like, that was the convent you went to as a little girl. And she's like, you know what I've done with it? I was like, I heard that you bought it. I was like, why would you buy a convent? She's like, her husband, Chris, was a painter. And she's like, I bought it to create a gallery for my husband's art. I was like, well, that's super cool. And she says, yeah, that painting you did is the only painting that's going in there, not from him.
Damn.
Wow.
And cool. It was in St. Elizabeth's. My portrait of her hung in the room with her dolls, her beloved doll collection that hung in with her dolls until she sold everything and moved to Sonoma, California. And that's when we lost touch, was when she was selling everything off because her health was kind of, lots of reasons people do that stuff. But yeah, for a number of years there was a painting of mine that was precious to me that was that apparently was pretty valued by her and hanging in her private gallery.
That's
The
wild.
only thing there not from her husband. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like it's such a big claim, It's like that, but I'm proud of it. I'm like, yeah, I think the only corroboration of it that's actually out there is I ran across a photo one day of Anne sitting with her dolls, and I could see the corner of that painting in the photo. That was all. But people, if anybody wants to call bullshit on me, that's fine. I don't care. It's like I know I was there. So, but yeah, over the course of those couple of years, I was writing. Like a lot of the comics I was doing then, I was also writing, and I would hit a wall every once in a while, and I would call Anne, literally call Anne, and talk about the writing I was doing. So,
she was a mentor as well as somebody you idolized.
I straight up called her my goth mommy. just literally called her goth mom.
That's great.
Like I was going through a real bout of depression once back then, and was really feeling lonely. Didn't think I had anybody to talk to, and I was like, "Screw it, I'm gonna call Ann." So I called Ann, and shared with her what was, how I was feeling, and all this stuff. And I remember we talked for a minute, and then she goes, "Les, you know what I do when I feel that way?" And I can't remember the girl's name, her assistant. She says, "I have so-and-so." She's like, "I ask her to go down to the kitchen and pour a bowl full of milk and cut up bananas and put it in it and bring it up to me." She's like, "So whenever you get to feeling that way, go have a bowl of bananas and milk." She's like, "It always cheers me up." And I just, like, to this day, it's something every once in a while, if I'm a little bummed, I might go, break out a banana and some milk. And it has nothing to do with anything about that actual thing. It's something Ann did. And something she shared with me that meant a lot.
I've never
Very
heard
cool.
of anybody eating bananas and milk.
Yep.
It's kind of similar to eating bananas and sour cream, which I do.
Never heard of that either.
I've never thought of that one, but that's interesting.
Bananas and sour cream, especially
Something I'm about to try.
Overripe bananas and sour cream is absolutely delicious. And I think I'm going to have some tonight because I have an overripe banana sitting on the kitchen counter when I get done.
Bruce, I might have to just try it because it doesn't sound great to me, but I always have sour cream and almost always have an overripe banana that I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So
put it in the sour cream. You will never go wrong. And we'll enjoy it tonight in honor of Anne Rice.
Okay.
There you go. And the goth mommy.
The goth mom. Awesome. It's funny because I have a friend. I have a friend from right out of college who moved to New Orleans and wrote his own book and actually was lived near Anne Rice and became friends with her as well. And she actually helped him out with his book back in the day. Anthony Buxton.
She was like that, man. She was always helping people out and just. And the crazy thing is, like, I've got friends down in New Orleans now who talk about how back then they would be out doing things like, over in the quarter, and it was nothing to just be like, "Oh, hey, Ann, what's up?" She'd just be walking down to the quarter to go check something out or whatever. And so when my wife and I got to spend.
She lived her life in New Orleans. Loved it.
Yeah, I understood why she left, but because I think a lot of it had to do with Chris dying, her husband, when he passed away. I think it was just painful for her to stay in New Orleans anymore. So, that's I think that was a big part of it.
How many years before her passing did he pass?
Oh God, I think 15, something like that.
Really? Oh wow!
It was quite a while.
Stayed there. She
Yeah.
stayed there that much
Yeah.
longer.
Oh no, like right after he passed is when she left.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he passed, and then she sold everything, moved to Sonoma. So, and I've always felt that and this is my prejudice. I despise California. So I was like, why the hell would you go to California?
Sonoma's Arizona.
I'm just like, or whatever that section of California is with all the wine country and all that. It's kind of down in the same area, but in California, it's all like real lush because of used to be real lush until the government stopped them from being able to pipe water in.
Indeed.
No, at one point, a sixth of all the world's produce came from this area of California until the government cut the water off. To protect the Delta smelt, a 3-inch fish down there that's
not even on the
only
endangered
in that
species
area.
list. It's not even on the endangered species list.
Yep.
And
The damn
Gavin
Delta
Newscomb
smelt
is an
thing, I'm just
idiot.
like, oh. I'm like, back when I was working, man, I don't have people ask me this anymore, but back when I was doing a lot of stuff in 3D and in animation, I always had people like, oh, you should come out to Cali. You should move out to Cali, man. You'd really do well out here. I'm like, no. I'm like,
I have to
either
I
I would kill California or it would kill me. Oh.
As a lifetime Californian, not everybody sucks out here, okay? Not everybody. God.
Oh,
I have to stand up for my neighbors as a good neighbor in California. We're not all terrible.
Are you like somewhere east of Loyola or something like that?
I am in a rural area 60 miles out of Los Angeles.
Oof.
She's up on the mountain.
That's still close enough to smell the scum.
Oh yeah, no, there's literally zombies all walking around at the base of my mountain. So.
Oh. Yeah, I feel bad for all the rural folk in California. I mean, it's the same as with the folks in Illinois. You know, it's like there's all the normal people of Illinois, and then there's Chicago. And I'm like, just cut it off. It's cancer. Just cut it off. But
hey,
you know,
listen, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to cut you off because I'm about to get like super butthurt, Les, and decide not to like you. I'm kidding, and start talking shit on Kentucky. I kid, but
I'll riff hard on Kentucky.
I'm sure.
Trust me,
now,
nobody can talk shit about Kentucky like a Kentuckian.
I can imagine. I don't know enough about it to actually talk shit about it, you know. But here's the thing. Our wonderful, wonderful mod, Vulcan Lives, has said, are we still in Fanboy for Us? And I said, yes. But months ago, he gave me shit for like iron fisting the show because, you know, I need to keep it on track. And I'm like, hey, listen, this is a great conversation, right? I got permission from Vulcan to lay the hammer down. We need to get the show on the road. We're gonna do one less. I'm so sorry. I might have to become very like a controlling California bitch here in a minute. We're gonna do one last question.
Oh, you're fine.
Fanboy for Us, and Bruce knows what my favorite question is, and then we're gonna move on because we got to talk about brides.
Oh God!
All right,
go.
Her favorite question is your favorite band.
My favorite band. Oh, that's very easy for me, without a doubt. Black Label Society.
Ah, okay.
I don't know what that is. What kind of music is that?
Black Label Society is the band that Zakk Wylde founded when Sharon Osbourne fired him back in '99. Black Label Society is we jokingly call it the Grateful Dead of metal, because it's you go to Black Label shows and it's like a biker meet, and everybody just hugs, and you see the same people, you run into folks, and this happens to me on a regular basis. I'll be out in public wearing a Black Label shirt, and somebody else will be walking by with a Black Label shirt, and it's not just, oh, that's cool. No. It's gonna be like, hey, I saw them in blah blah blah. Hey, I was at that show, and then all of a sudden, there's this whole just continuity that happens. It's wild. Yeah, Black Label is a culture unto itself. And
all right.
I mean, it's born from Zakk Wylde, who is one of the nicest guys like in music. I love the guy.
I really like the description.
And now he gets to play for friggin' Pantera.
Oh, nice. I like the description though of the Grateful Dead of metal. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Black Label is very, very. It's modern day old school metal. I mean, Zack's other projects are like he would still go do stuff with Ozzy from time to time. Of course, he was Ozzy's main guitar player during the Back to the Beginning thing that happened the other day, and then Zakk Zakk was really he was best friends with Dimebag Darrell from Pantera, and when ever since Dimebag died, there has never been a thought of anybody other than Zakk being invited to step in for Dime. There's just no one else. Like when Dime's brother Vinny was still alive, who was he was the drummer in Pantera. Vinny was like, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to be with Zakk. Like, just full stop. There's nobody else. So, and then of course, Vinny's been gone for a few years now as well. So, it's Zakk and then Charlie Benante from Anthrax, New York band. Woo-hoo.
Yep.
But
no Anthrax.
So I actually in the early days of my comic book career, dude, I lived in New Milford, Connecticut, just outside of New York for a few years.
Okay.
So I was up. That's actually where my career started. So I used to come in and hustle art in the city. I would spend all weekend hustling art down in Central Park, like not sleeping. I'd be there from like Friday morning all the way through till Sunday night, and then catch a train back, and then work construction the rest of the week over in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the early days. Yeah, I used to sleep on benches in Central Park, man.
Wow. The good old days.
Yep. Back in the Giuliani days, man.
When you could do that, not get
Yep.
Okay, I beamed that thought into your head. I was saying that, Bruce. I was saying that with my mic muted.
Yep. Yeah. NYC is a husk of what it used to be, as far as.
Oh my God! It's a shell.
So sad.
It is a shell. Well, I hope to God Trump comes in and cleans house soon, because this idiot Naminami, whatever the hell his name is, Namdani, yeah, that knucklehead.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, absolutely not. Cannot. So, but
one way or another, it's going to right itself because if he gets in, you're going to see an even greater mass exodus from New York.
Already, yeah, yep. I agree. As soon as Hochul took over the governorship, Mana, yes, Mana, exactly.
Exactly. I'm taking this moment because obviously Les is a talker, right? We gotta get out of
Yeah.
fanboy for us.
All right, we're out of fanboy.
We
for us.
have to talk
Les,
some
he's got to
bride.
brand you.
All right.
He's got to go continue on with the segments. So Cosmic, flip the script and put Christy up next to Les, and I'm
no,
going to
that's
mute
me.
and
I
let
can
her
do
take
that.
over.
Look at. Oh my God, you're muting. Okay, well, Bruce, you're more than welcome, Bruce, to unmute at any point in time. But Les, the reason we had you here was for brides. And look, you did a cool thing. You must have OBS or something like that to be able to show off your covers.
Yep.
So you recently closed out your successful campaign, at least over on Kickstarter. It was somewhere around 15 grand that you raised for that book.
Yeah, it was just shy of 15.
Okay,
like
and then I love, because my audience, I'm hoping we don't have too much crossover, so they don't know much about your book yet. Can you just give a description of what Brides is?
The simple form of it is a question. What would happen if the Bride of Frankenstein got it in her head that becoming a vampire could fix all her problems, and out of that she seeks out Dracula, but instead finds his brides?
Oh, and are there multiple? Obviously, because it's Dracula.
Yeah, there's the three. It's the reason it's called brides, plural, is because there's the Bride of Frankenstein and there's Dracula's three brides. So and the word brides is kind of indicative of a theme that will be there in the book for the next two installments to come.
Okay, so this is the first one.
Yes. Yeah, this is number one. Brides is technically it's one of 9, but it'll be Brides 1, 2, and 3 with different subtitles. So those will be, Brides, Brides Unbound, and Brides Resurrected. That's the titles for the first 3 books. Then the second 3 books, it's funny because I have their plots all written, but I haven't decided on the actual title for them yet. There's a second series of 3 books, and then a third series of 3 books titled Hunters. So it's a thick undertaking. By the time it's all said and done, let's see, it's 9 times 4 is what? 36? Yeah. So it's the entire story, once told, will be 360 pages.
Okay, and they're broken up pretty much evenly?
Yeah, each one is a 40-page book. So, and each one of those books you'll be able to read on its own, even though it connects and fits in. So, you know, that's actually the trickiest part of writing it, because I don't want people I want people to be able to hop on at any point and not be completely lost. So that actually is a tricky thing to do at times. But I think I've got it worked out pretty well.
Okay, now as far as your website, the Sixus1, and that's the numeral 1.com, are people going to get much information about brides over there?
No. No, they're not. The website is way out of date.
I had to say, because I went there for information. I don't see nothing.
Yeah. No, I like to say those who can do, those who don't have up-to-date websites.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, I literally, like right now with books that I'm on contract to do, I'm booked up through the end of next year just about. So, and I mean, I am booked tight. I average 4 pages a day interiors, penciled and inked. So, like in the last 2 years, I've done over 800 pages of artwork.
Wow. Yeah,
And
and
it
that was
looks
the
like
thing. That was the thing when I was looking at your website. It looks kind of more like a portfolio, like, hey, check me out. And obviously, you're getting plenty
Yeah,
of work.
it well, and it's most of what's on the website is left over from probably God like 6 7 years ago when most of my income was still coming from work as a 3D guy. So because I was technical director in the 3D related industries uh, for 20 some years. So and it's still a thing. Like the 3D stuff still comes into a lots of things related to comics. I just get to use it for myself now in the way that I used to use it for clients. So,
So are
like
you
whenever you see
manufacturing?
one of my properties, yeah, whenever you see like with Brides, there were some collectibles, some statuary in the Kickstarter. Whenever you see anything that's manufactured like that on one of my projects, I'm the one who sculpted it. So I sculpt it, and most of the time, I will be the one who has done all the technical setup in the background, and there's a high likelihood that it's getting manufactured out of my shop because I've got in the next room over here, I've got a 3D print farm.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
like nice. Yeah, it's not the FDM where you can see all the lines. It's a nice. Oh Lord, it's really nice resin printers. So
Very cool. That.
love
Those are
my
the bananas for
love my
Anne
resin
Rice.
printers.
Okay.
Those are the
I
bananas
couldn't
for Anne
figure out
Rice.
what that
Nice.
was. Okay. Good. Hey, so Les, even though people can't, find much out about Brides, I see that you have at least a section for people to sign up to join your mail list. I don't know if you keep them up to date that
Yeah,
way. But if there were
I
any,
I, I do. I use the mailing list. I'm not one of those people who has like a weekly mailer or any of that kind of stuff because I hate that crap. I hate
Mhm.
spam. But if you join the mailing list, whenever something comes up that is worthwhile, I'll let you know. So there's that. So that
So how can somebody get
I don't
into
want
the brides? How can somebody get the brides issues now?
my. They are at the printer, and I actually just got confirmation today that the first big batch of them are finished. So I will actually be at a convention, a horror show called CreepyCon in Knoxville, Tennessee, April 1st through 3rd, and I should have copies of a lot of stuff there.
April or
I'll
August?
be. It should be the first time, or not April, August. Yes, August 1st through 3rd, and here in I guess 3 weeks, something like that. So that should be the first time that Bride will be available publicly. So I will be at that show with my own big setup, and then the company who I've partnered with, as for them to handle the publishing on it, Resolute Bliss, is also at the show with another setup. So Brides will actually have a really big footprint at this show, which is kind of cool because Knoxville is sort of special in
But how
weird
can
ways.
somebody get the books?
Knoxville's been a big part. They will be available before too long at, I think it's resolutebliss.com should be the website for the publisher. And once all of that is sorted out, I will be plastering that stuff everywhere. So, we're actually there's a lot of what was on the Kickstarter that will not be available. Just flat out won't be available, not getting reprinted. That's that. Those people got that. Tough. Sorry, but that's my reward to the people who backed it. That's one of the big rewards of it. And I'll while I'm talking about this, I'll just run those covers again because just to go nah to the folks who didn't get them.
Yeah, right.
So the
So I'd say at least at
yeah.
the very least go over to your website and sign up so you don't miss out next time. Sign up for the email list because Les
Yeah.
will let you know when the next crowdfunder is coming out. And then also I did drop the resolutebliss.com website in the chats.
Cool.
Because Les, you are
Cool.
absolutely the artist and creator and are very lucky to have a publisher to do all the bullshit for you that you don't want to do. You know, because you're
Yeah.
not I gotta say,
Absolutely.
you're not the best at like pounding the pavement on the social media. It took me a lot of like digging. I'm like,
No.
oh, how do I find this and how do I find that? It's obviously because you have other people handling that business side for you. So congratulations
The
on
man's,
that.
Yeah,
man's doing 4
I
pages
have
a
a
day.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
drawing 4 pages a day. I'm like blown
like
away at that.
my days are spent like this. Like what's funny about it is like I no joke. I'm gonna give you my rundown. This is what every business day looks like for me. I'm up at 4:30. I'm in the shop by 5:30. The first page of the day is done by 9. Second page of the day is done by noon. From noon to 1, I hang out with my wife and have lunch, take a walk. From 1 to 3 is page 3. From 3 to 5, maybe 6, is page 4. At that point, I leave. I go to the gym. Spend an hour and a half, anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours in the gym. Come home, have dinner, go to bed, rinse, repeat. And inside of that, I have the expectation of my days blocked down to 15-minute increments.
Damn. So you guys, if you want to be a high producing artist that's getting a lot of work, you have to have that discipline. I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's it. It's discipline. Trust me, there's plenty of days when I wake up and I'm like, shit, I gotta go draw this crap all day today. But then it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, but then I'm like, you know, I live on this beautiful little farm. And, you know, I have like 10 or 12 acres, something like that out here, and it's in the middle of another 100 or so that I can roam on. And I get up and I walk out my back door, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I do this. This is why I do this. So because I've worked for it and I've gotten this place and these things, and I get to live this particular life, and it's awesome. But it takes work. So get your ass in there and do the work.
Yeah.
So, I tell people all the time, people who don't know anything about comics, I'm like, yeah, I'm self-employed and my boss is an asshole.
And I love that
I
Vulcan
contributed
is
to
telling
Darth
me I'm being a
Talon.
bitch. Hey. All right. So basically, we have the idea of what your life is like, and have gotten to know you actually really, really, probably the best we've got to meet and get to know anybody in the Fanboy for Us section. Normally, that's 15 minutes. It was an hour and a half tonight. Loved it. It was awesome.
Sorry,
we're skipping
I'm bad about
mansplain.
that crap.
Regular viewers were skipping mansplain because I've already been mansplained about Black Label
Hold on a second.
Society
You got
and Rice, Kentucky.
You got a section called Mansplain. All I have to say for Mansplain, penis. Continue.
Works for me. We didn't even need the stinger tonight, you guys. I can't believe it. It's been a blast, Les. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're not even ending right now. We do have a couple of ending segments that we do. We're skipping mansplain tonight because I've been mansplained to all night, and I super appreciated it. Huh?
Spin the wheel?
We're gonna spin the wheel. So, like we stayed, and we do not have to stay in this segment for that long, but how Bruce likes to get to know people in Fanboy for Us, I like to get to know people by how much of a conspiracy theorist you are. And I'm assuming that you might be a little bit of one.
Oh God!
So we're heading into conspiracy.
You know how to pull up the rabbit holes.
Yes. Well, I've got a whole wheel. I've got a whole wheel of rabbit holes. Don't worry. We're going to get into conspiracy corner, and I'm going to see you on the other side.
I wanna live with a conspiracy girl. I could be prepping the rest of my life with a conspiracy girl.
Those weren't aliens.
Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal with conspiracy corner
love
because I
that.
have. Thank you. I will eventually have a much more handily crafted one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So, conspiracy corner. I wear this tinfoil hat so the YouTube censors stay away. So the whole show is a free speech show, but particularly in conspiracy corner. But even before we bring the wheel up, I have a question for you. Because you grew up in the, say it again, how Kentuckyans say it,
The
Appalachia?
bowels of Appalachia.
Appalachia, in the bowels of Appalachia. I didn't even know that this was a thing until I came across a British person that was like visiting the United States and spent time in the Appalachians or the Appalachian Mountains, right? And he's like, everybody in my comic section is saying, don't open your door after night and close all the window blinds, and then also something about whistling. Do you know anything about that? Like, there's creepers in the woods.
Somebody jerking him around.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody jerking him around. That's nothing.
All right. Well, it's not on the wheel, so I thought I'd clear that up with somebody that was born and raised at least for a little bit of your life there. Let's bring the wheel up, and I'm going to explain how the wheel works here. Here it comes. All right, so this is our wheel of conspiracy. There's all kinds of topics. You may not know every single topic on here, and that's okay because the wheel works this way. You get 3 spins. You can choose to stay with topic 1 or topic 2. But if you choose to spin a third time, you're stuck with that topic no matter what it is. All right? So if you don't like and here's the other thing too. If I don't like a topic, because I really do need to update the wheel, I might even give you a free spin, but that's all up to me. And where my iron fists wrapped in a velvet glove comes out. So do you understand how the wheel works?
Yeah.
All right, you ready to spin it?
I think so.
All right, Cause, spin the wheel.
Do it.
Oh, this is great. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Ooh, yeah.
All right, the U.S. Oh, dude, that can go
Yeah.
deep, too. You know.
Oh.
Here's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too, Les. And I know you're a talker, so you really do need to rein it in. If you want to say a few words on a topic and then spin again, you can. Or you can choose it, and we're going to talk about it for a while.
My thoughts on the U.S. military-industrial complex are very simple. I think it's a load of crap. I think a lot of people have died unnecessarily because of it. And I think a lot of people who should have died very necessarily at the hands of it have not.
Ooh, fascinating. Do you want to spin again?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
That was very concise. Now, here's where I will give you a free spin because I feel like we've landed on this recently a few times on Creative Chaos. But you can talk about it at length if you want, or say a few words.
I think there's some fishy stuff around vaccines going back to the Tuskegee experiments.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I mean, that's kind of the long and short of it for me is like, yeah, you know, there's been such shit done in the name of science and in the name of vaccines before, so be wary. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't trust the vaccines and stuff with COVID, and I straight up believe that because we haven't even talked, which I have enjoyed that I have not talked about my stroke at all during this thing. But, you know, 2 years ago, I suffered a stroke that left half my body paralyzed. And I firmly believe that the primary cause of that was because I finally broke down and got one of the vaccines.
Really? So you are literally
Yeah.
on, team stroke poke.
Yep.
I had
Yeah,
only seen, like through scrolling your social media, something about, working with your left hand. I didn't have any idea that had anything to do with having a stroke.
Yeah, the fingers on my left hand still don't work quite right. I can't open them. I can close them, but I can't open them. And but no, in the last 2 years and 4 months, 5 months, something like that. Well, that 2 years and a handful of months ago, I was told I'd never walk again or use my left arm.
Okay,
I
and
was completely, the entire left side of my body was paralyzed. To which I said to the doctor, I literally said to the doctor, "Fuck you! I'll walk out of this damn hospital."
I
And,
knew you were gonna say "fuck you" to the doctor. You just seemed that guy.
Yep. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
I'm so
And
sorry. Whatever happened to
I
make you decide to take
busted
that
my
first
ass.
one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Suck.
Well, so I my wife is a kidney recipient. She has a kidney transplant, and we were very worried about the possibility of bringing something in and all that. And so, like, she's multi vaccinated for COVID for good reason, because she's immune compromised and she really needs what that brings. Like, there are people for whom I think that's a good thing, and but specifically men, I don't think should be taking any of these damn things. But because of our fears, I was like, okay, honey, I'll do. And I researched it. I did a Johnson and Johnson that was not supposed to be an mRNA vax, because I was like, yeah, you ain't fucking with my genes. And I took it, and I still think that it played a role in my stroke, because I am a lifelong gym rat and martial arts nut, and like the same discipline I go out with my work, I go out with my physical fitness. So, like, you know, I just, no, there was no good reason for that to happen.
Right.
And the doctors were all baffled. The doctors looked at my blood work. Dude, you've got the blood of somebody half your age. This shouldn't happen. I'm like, yep, but it did. So here we are. What do I got to do to fix it? They're like, oh, we don't know. I'm like, well, somebody get under this arm, get me out of this bed, because I'm going to walk. I'm going to put weight on this leg, and we're going to get this thing going. So 6 weeks after that, I was able to throw away the cane. I got in the first week, I went from them telling me I couldn't walk to doing about 1,500 steps a day on a walker. And by the end of 6 weeks, I was on a quad cane, came home, and literally the following weekend after I got out of the hospital, I had a show booked in Milwaukee. 12-hour drive with a 250-pound show kit to drag on a floor dolly to set up. And when I got there, I was like, you know, I can choose my work or I can choose this fucking cane. And I threw the cane away and forced myself to drag that dolly and set up my stuff. And, you know, I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, awesome. Good for you. And not many people have that kind of, fortitude to do things like that, especially when you have doctors giving you terrible advice. What's that?
I said it's models. I'm just doing that for my wife because it'll make her giggle.
Okay.
I know she's watching this and it'll make her giggle.
Oh, good. Good.
I love you, honey.
and Vulcan says you're a machine, and I'd have to agree. Do you want to try for one more, or we can move on to our final segment, start closing it out? All right, Cause, bring the wheel up. We're gonna
Moving
do
pretty
one
quick.
more spin.
Spin it. Yes.
All right, you're stuck with
Yes!
Illuminati, which
Baller.
apparently you know nothing about.
Oh my god. Oh, oh my
What
god.
is the
There's so many different
Illuminati?
layers to what is the Illuminati? Well, honestly, it depends on who you ask because there's different versions of it. Like, I don't buy into the big conspiracy theory thing about, the grand Illuminati pulling the strings behind all this stuff. I do, however, believe that there have been various and sundry clubs and secret sects. Like back in the 1700s, there was a thing called the Hellfire Club that is arguably an offshoot of the Illuminati. That in the X-Men comics, they based a group on it, called the Hellfire Club, and the the fraternity called Skull and Bones. That, like, I think Donald Trump is the first president we've had who's not been a part of the Skull and Bones fraternity at Yale.
Yes, I
So,
believe you're correct.
The Illuminati, I don't believe in it specifically, but there are definitely, esoteric orders that owe their origins back to things that are very relevant to the stories of the Illuminati. So that's my take on it. It's like, yeah, it's generally bullshit, but there are slivers of truth here and there.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's definitely tons of secret orders that I think they all kind of, like, as far as any sort of public awareness of what the Illuminati is, any of those secret orders are like just under that umbrella.
Yeah. I mean, like the whole Bachelor's Grove thing. Or not, I keep saying Bachelor's Grove. That's a book from my friend Charles. Bohemian Grove.
Yes.
Grove.
With Moloch.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove. Good old Alex Jones' favorite topic, Bohemian Grove. But Bohemian Grove is actually pretty damn wild. When you start digging into that one, it's like, wait a minute. This is kind of sus, guys. What y'all up to? A bunch of rich weirdos out in the woods with a giant owl. I'm like, really? You guys are, y'all are
And
jacked.
robes and
So,
yeah. Interesting. All right.
yeah,
Well, so that's your quick take on the Illuminati.
yeah. Quick take.
All right. Very good. Hey, Les,
It's actually a subject too broad. It's just such a broad subject. It's like, yeah, well, here's a quick take. So,
yeah. Well, that's good because actually we're 7 minutes before, like, our most, long into the show. We don't like going beyond 2 hours, but I do have one last segment, and this is where I get to brand you, but not in any kind of weird sex cult Illuminati type of way. You're just getting a Flip City brand. It's fun.
Damn.
So we're going to get into our branding segment. I do not have a stinger for it. Maybe one of these days I'll make one. Basically, the way this works is we have you read a small portion of something that's been published in Flip City Magazine. We are a comic satire magazine. For anybody that's out there that doesn't know what Flip City Magazine is. And I do try to make it similar to what we're talking about with the guest. We're not a horror thing, but we have published kind of horrific things. And so I'm going to bring up, I'm going to have Cause bring up what I have set up for you tonight. And here it is. It's ruled by ghouls. And you seem like somebody that actually kind of has a finger on the pulse of what's happening politically. This is probably one of the more political pieces that you'll find in Flip City Magazine. This is how branding works. I'm going to read you in with this first slide here, and then you're going to choose what you're going to read after that. Things will become more clear and very obvious after we get this started.
I
All
like
right.
what I see so far. This is cool.
All right, good. So, who knows what evils fester in the dark hearts of government bureaucrats? We can only wonder, as America now knows what it's like to be ruled by ghouls. All right, and here's our ghouls. Lovely illustration done by the awesome Kelsey Cade. And you've got 4 ghouls here to choose from, and their names are going to pop up here right now, and you get to choose to read about one of them. We've got Grossa Delaro, Stacy Casket, Mitch McCorpsel, and Stacy Slaughterton. So you can choose one, and you'll read about it, about that ghoul.
Well, being from Kentucky, I got to go with the turtle, Mr. Mitch.
Of course you do. All right,
I was hoping you'd pick him. I was hoping you'd pick him.
That son of a bitch is an embarrassment to my state.
True to that.
Absolutely.
If you ever want to know how it is he's managed to stay in there so long, just ask me sometime and I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's wild.
All right, sounds good. Oh, and also, I believe you probably did the voiceover for your trailer. If you want to do it in spooky voice, feel free.
Yep. Mitch McCorpsel. In March, mummified Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell was immobilized for a month after nosediving into his nachos at a dinner event. But it was only a harbinger of things to come, as in July, the desiccated congressman was publicly struck dumb, stroking out at his weekly press conference. The pale, paunchy, petrified fossil froze up like a cadaver, his terrifying blank gaze filling hearts with terror. Returning to work would seem like an error, but Mitch, who made a career out of stalling and stonewalling, won't get out of the way and still stands to finish his senatorial term if he can keep from falling.
Woo! This was originally published in 2023, so there you go.
Very
you are
appropriate.
branded. You're branded, Les.
He is a turd among turds.
Yes, he is. He's the scum of the scum.
Yep.
And Thomas Massey's another. Massey's another idiot.
Massey, I don't despise Massey. I understand why Massey is the way he is about a lot of things, and I agree with him in principle, but I'm far more pragmatic than that. Massey is actually from my district, and James Comer is from my district. James Comer runs a bunch of wild stuff in the Congress. Massey and Comer are our congressmen, and then McConnell and Rand Paul are our senators. Rand Paul's senator in my district, and I love Rand. I mean, even when he did, Rand. There are times when I'm like, damn it, Rand, come on, get on the right page here. Like, again, I understand his principles, and I agree with his principles. I just think he needs to occasionally be a little more pragmatic. It's like this. It's like you can have principles that are really sound, and when it comes to politics, it's a game of making sausage. And if you don't, the trick is how far can you go? How far can you go before you betrayed yourself? And the further you're willing to go, the more of a cuck you are. But if you're not willing to budge at all, you're never going to get anything done. And I think Rand, honestly, even though he's been there for a few years, I think Rand is still trying to find his way. Also, he lives in the shadow of his father, who is,
Right.
Awesome. And so, I think there's also a little familial. Well, I think there's a little familial. There's definitely a thing there as the son of Ron Paul to differentiate himself in some ways and to show that he has a spine, which, you know, I think he picks the wrong fights to do that in. That's my big issue with Rand. So, but generally, most things I am on the same page with both Rand and Thomas Massey. I just there are times when I'm like, yeah, guys, this ain't the time.
They didn't want anything to do with that big beautiful bill. They kept pushing away from that big beautiful bill.
And I understand why they did too. Like I really do understand it, but like let me put it like this: what they were after is what I prefer. I would prefer to not see omnibus bills. Omnibus bills are garbage, but the way things work right now, like. It's like if you ever want to get rid of omnibus bills, the only way you're ever going to do it is by wrapping the legislation that gets rid of them inside of one. It's the only way you're ever going to do it. So,
yeah.
That being the case, it's like, well, you know, it's like you don't like the rules, but you can't walk away from the game here. So you've got to figure out how to make those rules work for you. That's the thing I feel like they don't quite grasp.
Yep.
So I agree with them in principle, but not in practice.
Okay.
Yep. Understood.
And McConnell's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
McConnell and his wife have massive boondoggles all over northern Kentucky, back and forth between northern Kentucky and southern Ohio. Like the richest parts of Kentucky are Lexington, Louisville, and northern Kentucky. And Mitch McConnell has massive business interests in those three places. And if you pull the strings of those interests, then those interests will damn straight make sure that all people downstream from them toe the line for you as the politician. That's how he stays in. He knows he doesn't have to like get the state. He just has to get here, here, and here. And he's got the tools to buy those places. That's how he's been there for 40 some years now.
Oh, he's so gross.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
I don't like the fact that his wife's Chinese, and I don't mean that to be a derogatory.
His wife's not Chinese. She's not Chinese. She's Japanese.
Japanese? Are you sure?
She's Japanese. Yeah, she's Japanese.
I thought she was Chinese.
Yep.
Okay.
No, she's Japanese. She's Japanese, holding massive amounts of interest in Chinese-based businesses.
That's what concerns me. I thought she was Chinese, but I know that they have lots of money in Chinese assets. And that's what bothers the shit out of me. Because I don't trust him as far as I can.
There's an assload of work that, you know, like blue collar factory type work and manufacturing and stuff like that, that would be done in Kentucky if him and his wife weren't selling it over there. And
exactly.
there's a whole set of political jockeying they do that gets people to vote for them that is just like it's like Kentucky politics is an interesting beast. Kentucky is a red state with a blue governor,
which is bizarre to me, but I still can't figure that one out.
And teachers union, 100% teachers union did it. The most powerful union in the state of Kentucky is the teachers union. And that teachers union, in many Kentucky communities, the largest employer is the local school. So the teachers union has the loudest voice. And that teachers union dictates who will be in the state house. But now our state legislature and our congressmen and senators that go to the federal level, those are chosen regionally. You know, so what happens there you get much more of the flavor of the different parts of Kentucky in those people. I mean, like Rand Paul, love him or hate him, he's a pretty hardcore libertarian. So is Thomas Massey. Well, they're both from out here in the western part of the state. And I know from living here now for 3 years, man, it's awesome here. It is awesome. They are very reflective of the culture of Western Kentucky. Meanwhile, Mitch is not reflective of the culture of Eastern Kentucky, but he's definitely reflective of the corruption. Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Vulcan. You ain't joking. When I was going to college, I was planning on being a teacher, and there are many good reasons why I bailed on that crap.
It was probably a good idea, even though, but what's great is you keep getting sucked back into teaching, because education is fantastic.
I do.
Especially being an educator, if you can stay out of all the bullshit,
Yep.
I think there's a good reason why teaching draws in kind of the worst type of people, and why it's just keeps going down the drain. Get rid of the Department of Education, y'all.
Yeah. The Department of Education was trash from the get-go. So, and with the Department of Education in mind, I'll drop a nugget to touch on some other time if I come back on the show. It's like, you ever want to have some fun? Get me talking about communism.
All right, well, let's do it, because I forgot to tell you, Les, with that branding, you get invited back to all the Flip City FAFO shows. You get 3 invitations, but if you deny all 3, then you have to come back on to get rebranded. So at least come on in the first 3 times
I'll
I invite
happily
you.
come back.
All right, and
next time I come back on, I'll make sure we do a large portion of it in Russian.
Okay.
Я знаю по-русски язык.
Interesting. I like it.
По-русски? I being a Cold War kid, as I ended up with an opportunity in my teenage years to learn Russian.
And can you speak it
30
fluently?
years ago, I spoke it fluently. 30 years ago, I was fluent. These days, it's kind of broken, but I've been polishing it up. Ever since somebody rolled his ass over into Ukraine, I've been kind of polishing up my Russian a little bit, because I'm like, this is kind of useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
More useful than you would think.
Well, we're definitely.
My wife thinks it's funny. I listen to a lot of music in Russian, because music's a good way to keep a language fresh in your mind. So.
Well, also, you seem like the type of person that would be a good caretaker for a bear. So, and I've heard Russians like bears.
The guys at Resolute Bliss, as soon as they saw the movie Thunderbolts, they had me on the show, and they asked me something, and they're like, "You speak Russian?" I was like, da, я знаю по-русски язык. And they were like, "See, I told you, he's the Red Guardian." I'm like, shit. Like, this is gonna haunt me, isn't it? But yeah, I'm the same size and pretty close to the same build as David Harbour. And then when I saw him with his head shaved and the beard and playing the Red Guardian, I'm like, well, that's a thing now. I'm not gonna get away from that one.
Right. Well, you'll know what to cosplay next time, and get plenty of attention if your booth doesn't already at a convention. But we're gonna have to wrap it up for tonight. Les, it was super great getting to know you, and we've been dropping links to your website and your publisher site and all that kind of stuff. But besides, those regular things, what do you want people to do for you? Where should they follow you, and what should they do?
Just if you look me up on Facebook, you'll find me, and there's a couple of different artist related pages for me on there that you can follow. That's probably the most active place. I kind of despise most social media. So, you know, I use it because you kind of have to these days, but I'm really, most of the time I'm just heads down drawing or writing and doing my thing. But, you know, folks send me messages or whatever, or reach out to me primarily through Facebook. I'll typically try and respond.
Okay.
Well, you just gotta follow from me, and I'm Bruce Wayne on Facebook.
Cool.
All right. And then on that note, Bruce Wayne, what do you want people to do?
Like, subscribe, ring that bell, and share. But to find me, you can catch me here Thursday nights on Flip City Mag's Creative Chaos. This coming week on Monday night, I'll be helping out Geek Men Dustin from the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. And also, every Sunday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Big Apple time, I'm one of the 3 beer men. So you can catch 3 beer men on pill.net, Rumble, DLive, Twitch, Odyssey, X, Twitter, and all these other platforms. But if you really want to look for us, just go to 3, the number 3, beermen.tv. And that'll tell you where to go to watch us on Sunday night.
Woohoo! And then as far as me, we're Flip City Magazine. You can find us at flipcitymag.com. I'll have more information because we're going to be closing out our latest collaboration with Madness Comic Network for our draw streams, where our current theme is classic cartoon characters experiencing modern problems. I'll have more information and some spoilers for that next week right here. Oh, it's fucking awesome. The things people are
Oh my
submitting
God,
are out of the world.
I'm like Speedy Gonzalez on the border with ICE agents, baby.
That's hilarious. We have by Doc Blaylock, he submitted Speedy Gonzalez being taken away by ICE. So there we go.
My first thought.
Come next time. Come draw with us. Like you don't have enough to do.
Finding out that his wife is a dude.
There's been many Pepe Le Pew ideas, but we haven't heard that one yet. I was thinking Pepe Le Pew with a porn addiction, but okay.
Oh,
anyway, you guys. So that's our current collaboration with Madness Comic Network. It's been really fun. We're hoping to have 3 to 4 pages run in volume 26 for that one. Other than that, we will catch you next week on Creative Chaos, same day, same time, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. avocado time. That's California. And California time, even for the haters, like less. And this is where we wait. Bye, guys.
Bye. Later, y'all.
Okay, class. List everything insensitive, exclusionary, bigoted, nationalistic, misogynistic, and offensive that you can find in history's great myths and legends. Extra points for suffering panic attacks or emotional outbursts. Fact check every opinion against the lived experience of your comrades and allies, so you can avoid forming a criminal opinion. Scrutinize it cover to cover. Wrongthink, misgendering, dead naming, misinformation, microaggressions. Leave no page unturned.